Bar Gunny. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of B2Deep. Tonight we have a very special guest. She is a financial educator known as your financial literacy lady. She is an author of the book A Joint Effort: Life After Hip Implant Recall. She is an entrepreneur. She is everything you can ever dream of. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Andrea D. Jenkins.
Woo! Brazy, brazy.
How are you doing this afternoon?
I am fantastic, Brazy. How are you?
I am doing great. Well,
Awesome.
I guess we will just go ahead and jump right in it.
Well,
So,
let's jump
you
on in.
are originally from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Is that
That,
correct?
that is correct.
So, how was it growing up there? How was life back in Fayetteville?
Oh, back in Fayetteville, it was awesome. As a little girl being in Fayetteville, North Carolina, my family close by, and pretty much the most of my family, we all lived on the same street or around the corner. Every Sunday, my dad was grilling on the grill, and I mean, we would have games. It was awesome. It was really awesome. And then I moved to Georgia. Was still in elementary school, so the bulk of my life has been in Georgia. But my home is Fayetteville, North Carolina. Yes.
Now, how around was the age when you moved to Georgia?
Let me see. When I moved to Georgia, I was going into the. Ooh, let me see. Let me think, Brazy. That's a good question. When we moved here, I was in elementary. I started the 6th grade.
Okay.
I think when I moved to Georgia. I think it's when I started the 6th grade.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you were in school, what were the things you did? Were you an athlete? Were you just a scholar? Were you both?
Well, let me tell you something. So, before we moved to Georgia, we actually lived in Ohio. And so in Ohio, I was, and in North Carolina in elementary school, I was on the spelling bee. So I enjoyed that.
Right.
Then in Ohio, I ran track. So that was fun. It was pretty exciting. And then even moving to Georgia, I was still pretty athletic with my dad. We would go running. When I was in Ohio, we would get up, we'd go running in the mornings, come back to the house. My mom would have breakfast. But it was fun. It was really fun.
Good deal. Now, what did you do in track? Are you a runner or field athlete?
You know what? And it didn't last long. Okay. So now I always loved to exercise, and work out with my dad. And I did, what is it? The 100-yard dash.
Yes.
So let me tell you, we had a track meet one day, and we were on the field, and the guy shot the gun. It was time to take off, and Brazy, my leg messed up so bad, and I hit the ground. That was the end of my running track.
No.
So I had to start doing some other things.
Right. Oh, man. So tell me about your childhood. You were talking about your mom and dad. Did you grow up in a household with them both, or were they separated? Or did you have brothers and sisters? How was family life?
Oh my goodness, family life was awesome. I grew up with both my parents. They are still married. They recently celebrated their 53rd wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
Yes. We had a blast. But it was wonderful. I have 2 younger siblings, and just doing things together, as a family. That's what my childhood was like. My parents have always been supportive and made sure that they did what needed to be done to provide for their children. And my siblings and I, we grew up close, and we're still close to this day, supporting and checking on each other. I remember as a little girl, somebody took my tricycle. I was living in Ohio, and I had this tricycle, and another little girl stole my tricycle, and my middle sister, Keisha, she had to come to my rescue. But then growing up and getting into high school, the roles kind of reversed, and she got tired of me. I felt like I needed to kind of be the big sister, take charge of people that were in her space.
Yes.
And she had to, let me know, this is my space, Andrea. This is your space. Okay.
Right.
I can handle me. So, I had to adjust to that.
Right. Now, you said 2 siblings, right?
I have 2 younger siblings. Absolutely. Okay. Well, Brandy and Keisha.
Okay. So 2 sisters.
Yes.
Okay. So did you miss ever want a little brother, or were you ladies just fine with each other?
You know, we were fine with each other, still fine with each other. But I have a cousin of mine that lives in Indiana, and he's like our big brother.
Right.
So I feel like I have a brother. You know,
Yes.
he was right there, and I could pick
Yes.
up the telephone and call him now with
Right.
whatever issue or concern. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, the siblings, the sisters, you know, we're good. You know, checking on each other, checking each other's style, the clothing. My
Right.
sisters check me pretty often, and they'll say, "That doesn't look good. You're not
Right.
matching." Now, my sister Keisha,
Mm-hmm.
she was the track runner, the athlete. Her tennis shoes had to match, you know,
Oh wow.
what her clothes were. I
Yes.
was the Bobo white tennis shoe girl, and I was fine with it. It'll go with
Right.
everything. I was in love with the dress shoes.
Right.
That's what I like.
Okay.
I'll go out and just throw on some tennis shoes, and she does this. Okay, let's try that again.
Right. So what about mom and dad?
Oh, mom and dad. My dad was retired military,
Mm-hmm.
and my mom was a banker. So
Oh
she
wow.
is a retired banker. Yeah. And every Friday, if I can remember correctly, when we were in Ohio, that was like pizza or fish, you know, day.
Right.
But they're very supportive. I
Mm-hmm.
remember my dad growing up, I had to read the newspaper.
Okay.
There was no just being lazy.
Right.
That was not in our household.
Right.
My sisters and I, we had to get up, we had to cut the grass, we had to
Mm-hmm.
rake the yard. So, but it was a unit. We
Right.
did things like that as a family.
Okay.
But we were busy.
Right.
We were busy children. My dad said, "I'm not raising any lazy girls,
Right.
and you will know how to take care of yourself."
Mm-hmm.
So he put us to work.
With him being military, is that the reason you guys kind of moved a few times?
Yes,
Okay.
we were stationed. My dad was stationed in Ohio for about 3 years. So
Okay.
we lived in Youngstown for about 3 years,
Okay.
and then kind of moved away from there. Macon, Georgia, is my dad's home.
Okay.
My mother's home is Fayetteville, North Carolina,
Okay.
and so he decided to settle here in Macon,
Okay.
and that's where we are.
All right. Now, was it for your childhood? Was that fun to you to always like be able to go to different places like that, or was it the opposite? Because some kids feel like I never could get my roots, and as soon as I get friends, then we move again.
Well, when we were in Ohio, my sisters and I, we really didn't have many friends.
Okay.
We weren't liked that much. We were bullied as kids when we lived in Ohio. So that was pretty challenging.
Right.
Um, the moving around, it didn't bother me too much because I was still so young.
Hmm.
And we settled out. Like I said, we got to Georgia. I just got to the 6th grade, I think it was.
Right.
But I didn't move anymore.
Okay.
It was here. So my friends
Okay.
in 6th grade on, we finished school together, and some of
Right.
us are still in contact now.
Okay.
So it wasn't challenging. I don't feel like I missed anything because I
Hmm.
had my family.
Right.
So it didn't bother me too much. So wherever we went, if we went back to North Carolina, I
Hmm.
still had cousins, and my family was there, my age. I always had
Right.
someone to connect with. Come to Georgia, I still have family, here in Georgia. But my parents, they are my backbone.
Right.
And they've always been that way for all of us.
Okay. Good deal. Now, after high school, then did you attend college?
I did attend college.
Hmm.
I went to Georgia Military College.
Okay.
I went to now the name has changed, but I went to Central Georgia Technical College. I went to Macon State. And one of the things that I wanted to focus on, Brazy, is I wanted to focus on criminal law.
Okay.
That was one of the passions that I had, not initially, right out of high school, but
Right.
throughout your journey, your situation changes, your thought process
Yes.
changes.
Right.
But I was really wanting to initially go into fashion design. That's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
Outside of that, I didn't really have a direct path. I did a little acting in school,
Okay.
but really wasn't sure 100% what I wanted to do until life really hit.
Right.
And then, going through life, being married,
Mm-hmm.
divorce, abuse, a lot of those situations popped up and presented itself. Then I decided, let me take criminal justice. Let me get more involved. I
Right.
wanted to practice family law, and then that changed.
Wow.
So,
Now, were those changes during college? All during college?
the change during college, yes. Right out of high school, I was taking my core,
Mm-hmm.
classes. And then, of course, it shifted. I think I was right after my divorce, I went back to school.
Okay.
And then that's when I started studying criminal justice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you said divorce. Now, did you get married while you were in college, or was this after college?
After college.
Okay. And how was that? Was that
Um,
a healthy relationship, or?
oh no,
Oh wow.
not at all. Not at all. Brazy, it was at the time I wanted to be married.
Right.
So many young girls, growing up is, oh, I can't wait to, get married and have a, I want to have a wedding. So,
Right.
that was kind of in my head.
Mm-hmm.
But on the wedding day, I knew I was making a big mistake,
Oh wow.
but I didn't back out of it
Mm-hmm.
because pride
Yes.
and kind of, a little bit of spite. So
Right.
many of the family members were saying it's not going to work. And I just wanted to
Right.
prove something to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had family that was in town that traveled to come to the wedding. And I just did not know how to say there's not going to be a wedding.
Right.
And
I
my
can understand
mother,
that.
yeah, my mother, oh my goodness. My mother said to me on my wedding day, she said, you don't have to do this. She said, we could just have a big family function and be just as happy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she was right. That could have taken place. But
Right.
I committed to being married,
Mm-hmm.
saying this is what's going to happen. And I
Right.
just wanted to go ahead and move forward with it. And it did come with some serious challenges.
Wow. Now, like most people, were most of your challenges financial? Like what
Some of it was
within
financial.
this marriage, what did the marriage do to gauge your life? Like you said, it was after that you went into criminal justice. Was it because of things that happened in the marriage, or was it just one day you just felt that's what I think I want to do?
No, it was things that I experienced in my marriage. Some
Okay.
things that, because I was in an abusive marriage,
Okay.
and it didn't start off abusive. However, there were signs that I did not pay attention to. I just dismissed.
Right.
Um, but it was challenges. It was difficult. You know, being married, the experiences that I went through. Some things, Brazy, is too embarrassing for me to even discuss, even to
Right.
this day. And I've been
Wow.
divorced over 20 years.
Oh wow.
But the violence that I went through
Mm-hmm.
in that household, it was devastating to me. There was a child in the household,
Mm-hmm.
his child that lived with us,
Okay.
that he saw things a child never should have seen. No adult should see some of the things that I experienced. So a child, that makes it even worse.
Right.
So
And
after I came out of that situation,
right.
it moved me to want to be more supportive of other women,
Right.
to help them to see the importance of not staying in an abusive situation,
Right.
and to see the value that as a woman that you do have, and
Mm-hmm.
to turn your life around. That is possible. It can
Yes.
happen. And so I wanted to focus on family law. And that's what moved me to go back to school
Okay.
and start with criminal justice.
Okay. So what was that journey like when you
Uh,
once you started school?
Once I started school,
Yeah, when you
I
went back, when you
enjoyed it.
went
When I
back.
went back, it
Yeah.
was challenging because I was also diagnosed with a chronic illness.
Okay.
So I had had surgery. I was coming out of the divorce. I had
Mhm.
surgery. Um, and going back to school, I'm driving on crutches,
Oh
going to
wow.
class, carrying books. It was hard, but I enjoyed what I was learning.
Right.
And it's interesting, Brazy, in one of my classes, I'll never forget. And I don't know what moved this instructor to have the conversation with me that she had,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't say anything about being abused. I didn't say anything like that. But I stayed late in
Okay.
that class because I needed some extra help.
Yes.
And I'm a social person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with having a conversation with individuals. And my instructor, now we just started talking, having a wonderful conversation. And it came out that she was being abused. And it just
Oh,
so
wow.
happened that her husband was law enforcement.
Okay.
And when I mentioned to her, I said, well, do you call the police or have you called the police? And she said to me, my husband is the law.
Wow.
So, and he'll get a tap on the wrist. The officers are gone, and she's at home stuck now with the situation
Right.
for calling. And so,
Yes.
and that just really fueled me even more.
Hmm.
Me coming out of that, of my own situation,
Right.
and realizing there are so many women across the board. It doesn't matter the age, the color, your background, your financial status. It doesn't matter. Abuse affects anyone, male or female, across the board.
Right. Now, so it's very interesting because a lot of this of your life seems to be kind of intertwined around the same time, because you were talking about going back to school, the hip issues, which we're going to get into because that leads into your book.
Yes.
But at the same time, being an advocate for women with domestic violence, after going through your own situation, what took hold first? So you had that conversation with the instructor. Did you start gearing towards more of being an advocate then, or were you still more focused on the family law?
Um, I was still focused on just my education.
Okay.
At the time, it was a conversation, that I
Okay.
had. I was still healing myself.
Right.
um, and it was all still new,
Hmm.
and just trying to really focus. But it wasn't so much I need to jump out there and help, because I was still in shame mode.
Right.
I didn't really want to advertise too much what I had gone through,
Right.
because growing up, no one would have thought that I would have been someone that was in an abusive situation.
Okay. Right.
I was just not that individual. I spoke my mind and I moved on.
Hmm.
Um, and so being in that situation, it was challenging. I didn't think I was being abused at first. He
Right.
hit me, I hit back.
Yes.
And then things escalated.
Okay.
So yeah, at the time, no, but I was aware, and
Hmm.
I was being more observant and listening to other people.
Okay.
And I started hearing more people talk about abuse. And
Right.
then in school, I had to do a report because I was working at the time. And so when it was time for me to do my intern,
Hmm.
I couldn't really go anywhere to do an internship. So I had the option of writing an essay,
Okay.
a 20-page essay that I made an A on, of course.
Absolutely.
But what I wanted to do was I asked my professor to allow me to go into the prison system and
Okay.
just give me a day or give me a few hours behind bars. I wanted that experience. I wanted to feel what other women may be feeling that were abused and took the life of their spouse
Right.
to protect themselves, because there's so many women behind bars for
Yes.
self-defense. So I did a report on that. They didn't let me go into the, in the prison system,
Okay.
of course, but I really started to look at how many women are doing everything they can to protect themselves, and now they're behind bars
Hmm.
because of self-defense.
Yes.
And then the lack of education and training on law enforcement side, recognizing the signs, the marks. Is this
Hmm.
person being hit, or is this person being the one hitting?
Right.
So I really started looking into more of that, and then just really very passionate about what other women are experiencing.
Right.
So many just are not at the point to open their mouth to voice, the situation that they're in. And I eventually got to the point where I was willing to open my mouth and share and be very transparent about what was happening in my life, because I realized I wasn't the only one, but I happened to come out of my abusive situation, and
Right.
so many women have not.
Right. Hey, so how did school end? What was that next phase of your life leading into, like, going through school, already having the hip issues and everything? What was the next step? Did you graduate in that field, or did it
I
change? Or?
did not. I did not graduate. I'm still shy. I think one class to have my degree,
Wow.
either one or two classes. But I was still struggling health wise. So
Right.
I would start. I would go to school and then I would stop. I might be
Right.
sick for a while,
Hmm.
and then I regroup and go back.
Right.
A few years ago, I went back, and then it just life
Hmm.
happened, and I didn't finish. Like I said, I'm shy, maybe one or two classes, but then I just got busy with
Yes.
so much other activity where
Right.
I just did not, go back to school.
Hmm.
And I developed more of a passion in the financial industry.
Okay.
And even as a teenager, I worked for Connecticut Mutual, so I was in and out of the financial industry
Okay.
a long time,
Yes.
even part-time college,
Hmm.
not college, but graduating from high school.
Right.
During the summer, I went to Connecticut and stayed with my aunt and my grandfather for just for the summer,
Uh-huh.
and I got two jobs. And one of the full-time job during the
Hmm.
summer was at an insurance company.
Okay.
And I liked what I was doing. I
Hmm.
enjoyed the people that I was working with, and it just so happened it was Connecticut Mutual that
Right.
I worked for. Then I get out 4 o'clock there, and then I would walk downtown to the Civic Center to my second job.
Right.
That's what I did, over the summer. So anyway, to answer your question, I just really got more involved in the financial world, and I started doing
Okay.
taxes and started studying and taking tax courses and classes to prepare myself to be a tax preparer. And I loved it.
Right.
I was what they called a tax junkie. I didn't know how to
Right.
get to office. So
Okay, so
go
this
ahead.
leads until, how did you get the name, the financial literacy lady? Tell us a story, because this is leading into your financial part. So how did that come about?
Well, so I did a little acting. I'm a poet also, and I would do spoken word. And my name is The Lady, capital THE, capital LADY. And so I've always been recognized as the lady. Well, as I developed that passion to be more involved in the financial industry, let me focus and study and start taking classes and get certificates in, certified in the financial world. Then it just meshed into the financial literacy lady.
Right.
The lady, I had such a passion in my spoken word and how I embrace people.
Hmm.
I was able to let that filter over into the financial side of things. When I work with my clients, I have a passion when it comes to working with them. I'm not a one and done type of individual. It's once I connect with you, you are my client, we're together,
Right.
because life happens, life changes. But
Yes.
I want you to feel safe and secure in my presence,
Hmm.
knowing that I'm going to take care of you and make sure that I guide you through your financial journey. And
Right.
so my clients, individuals know that I have a passion for it. And so I'm the lady with it. So there you go. I'm the financial literacy lady.
Yes. All right. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you have 7 steps of educating people. Is that correct?
So the 7 money milestones.
Okay.
Absolutely. So as we talk to people, or as I sit down and have conversations, you
Hmm.
reach people's goals, help them to reach their goals, or understand, first of all, what are your goals?
Right.
What's your passion? What's your drive? What do you want to accomplish?
Hmm.
Where are you financially now versus where you want to be? Well,
Right.
just like you're driving from, say, Georgia to Ohio, from one
Right.
destination to another, there's a map, there's a road map,
Hmm.
and you've got to follow that map to get to your destination. Well, it's the same thing in the financial world. There's
Right.
steps, there's a map that you need to follow to get to the end goal. And it
Okay.
starts with the 7 money milestones. And
Okay.
that first milestone happens to be financial education.
Right.
So I tell people all the time, if you want to understand the importance of how your brain is working,
Hmm.
you're not going to go to a dentist to
Right.
ask them to explain that to you.
Yes.
If you need to understand how your teeth need to be extracted. You are
Yes.
not going to go to a pediatrician to say, talk to me about my teeth.
Right.
So when it comes to financial education and reaching your goals,
Hmm.
who do you need to talk to? You need to talk to someone and not rely on yourself. So you need a financial professional.
Right.
You're not going to go and seek a doctor,
Hmm.
to say, hey, guide me on my financial journey.
Right.
That's not his expertise.
Yes.
So it starts with the financial education and seeking a financial professional.
Okay.
And then, after that, we've got the proper protection. I talk to people about having an emergency fund, a
Hmm.
savings account. So many people now can't even put their hands on a $400 emergency fund.
Right. Yeah.
I help clients guide through that process so we can see and understand, what do you have
Right.
and what are you doing? What can be eliminated? What can we do to help you reach your goal? And
Right.
then, debt management. Do you realize how many people are in debt, struggling with
Yes.
student loan debt,
Hmm.
unnecessary debt,
Yes.
um, or how to even come out of that debt? Well, let's put it on paper because the numbers don't lie. Look at it and let's see how to achieve coming out of that debt. How can we accomplish those goals? And then cash flow. It may be we need to increase that cash flow. You might need to get another job,
Right.
start a business,
Yes.
you know, building wealth and then protecting wealth. That's the seventh milestone.
Yes.
So many people have, wealth, but then they lose it all because there's no plan. They're doing things on their own and not seeking a financial professional, or they started an emergency fund, but they're dipping in that emergency fund because Macy's has a sale.
Right. Yes.
So, guiding them, holding their hand, not being judgmental because, hey, we've all been there,
Right. Yes.
but leading the way, showing the proper steps.
Hmm. Now, during this process, you opened your own store. Was it Liberty?
So, a partner and I,
Hmm.
we got together and we started the very first Liberty tax service in Macon, Georgia.
Okay.
Now, I'm sure you see the people waving outside.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
everywhere in Macon now.
Right.
So yes, I would be at my office
Hmm.
early in the morning. At that time, my dad was still working. He's retired now. And he said, Andre, I see your car early in the morning. I passed
Hmm.
by, you still at work. And then late at night, I'm still sitting there at work. So,
Right.
like I said, I was a tax junkie. I
Right.
enjoyed doing taxes,
Hmm.
but I didn't know how to separate doing taxes
Right.
and actually running the business. So I am, working with my partner, running the business and doing taxes, doing payroll, trying to, it was a lot.
Right.
It was a lot.
So, what was that next step? Because I know you were doing that at some point. We'll go ahead and get into your hip thing because was your story about your book coming next, or because I also know you're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
So, were you starting side businesses at the time, or was that after the Liberty thing? Or
So after Liberty, let me tell you, this does kind of transition into the hip because I was in my office. Now I had already had two hip surgeries.
Mhm.
Okay, at my while I was working at, I started the tax service.
Yes.
Because I was married at the time,
Hmm.
and when I was diagnosed with avascular necrosis in both my hips.
Okay.
So
Can you explain what that is for people who may not know
there's
what that is?
no blood circulation. My bones were dying. There is no blood circulation whatsoever. And so what happened, I would walk, and as I would walk, I would fall sometimes. It wasn't painful, but it was like there was a catch. It was like something was missing, and I would just fall. And then I went to the doctor, and that's when he told me I was diagnosed with avascular necrosis. There's no blood circulation in that bone. The bones were dying. So that was the first two. That was before I even started at the tax service.
Oh wow.
Before we even opened the tax. I think that was before I even opened the tax service. I had already gone through my divorce.
Hmm.
The first two surgeries I had towards the end, of my marriage, because I made my escape right after I got out of the hospital.
Right.
Um, Then in the tax office one day, breathing was hurting.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't hurting, here to breathe, but the movement, period. It was
Right.
affecting my hips. I was in a lot of pain.
Right.
So I would take a deep breath and I was having excruciating pain in my hips. I was at work.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, my mother was working for me. And my mother was at the front desk. And it just got extremely bad. I couldn't even just stand up. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. So I called my mom from the front to come to the back.
Mm-hmm.
My mom and my friend Michael at the time of the business.
Yes.
He and my mom, they had to roll me out of the office while I was sitting in the chair because I could not walk. I couldn't stand up. And I was very prideful. I refused to walk out the front door. My mother, she pulled the vehicle around the back and they opened the back door, and her and Michael, they got me out of the back door, and together they put me in the car, and my mom had to get me to the hospital. So
Wow.
after that is when it was time to have the total hip replacements.
Right.
We got to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I had follow-up appointments, with my surgeon, with my doctor, my orthopedic doctor. And he said, Andrea, you are going to have to slow down. And I wasn't ready for that. I would drive and have to lift my legs up and in and out of the vehicle, but I wasn't ready to slow down. I said, I just have too much to do. He said, you need to have total hip replacements. I said, well, I'll wait. Just give me something for pain so that way I can function, keep going.
Right.
And he told me, he said, well, when the pain gets to the point where you can't handle it, you'll be ready and you'll let me know. It didn't take that much longer. I pushed it out as long as I possibly could.
Uh-huh.
But it just got to the point where I'm walking and I'm dragging my legs and, just to even breathe or to talk, I'm in excruciating pain. So it was time to schedule the surgery. Right. So that's when I had two total hip replacements. Mm-hmm. They were 6 months apart.
Okay.
And then over time, it led into, me writing the book.
Okay. Now, so tell us about your book since we're already in there.
Well, so I knew in the back of my mind, at some point I kept saying it would be something if I wrote a book, mm-hmm. Can I see myself as an author? I mean, I wrote all the time, I'm always doing poetry and so that was easy. I wrote mm-hmm. a book of poetry and I didn't do anything with it.
Right.
I had written a novel, didn't do anything mm-hmm. with it. I just kind of, pushed it off. But I kept just writing a book around my condition. I mean, it kept being advertised on the news about the hip implant recalls. Mm-hmm. And with me being one of those patients, I'm like, wow, how many other people are suffering out there? Right. How many other people have actually died because of the implant recall? And I decided let me go ahead and write. So that writing period during COVID was really therapeutic for me.
Okay.
So I wrote the book. It was challenging. And the reason why I say it was challenging, Brazy, because I had to I had to mentally put myself back in the situation where all the pain was. I lived it, but to write about it mm-hmm. and to really be transparent, I had to put myself back there. And in some instances, the person I was married to mm-hmm. was there. So there's a touch of that in the book, just a very little bit. Right. I didn't give him any credit. Okay.
Right.
He was like in and out.
Yes.
So anyway, it was very therapeutic for me. Now I wrote my book about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And that was it. I wrote it. I felt good. I got it published. And it was okay. That was something I could check off my list.
Right. Good.
I put it in my mind. Okay, this is something that I can do. I can accomplish writing a book, mm-hmm. or can I? And I made myself do it. And I went through the whole process. But then after, I had a couple of book sales, and then I didn't do anything with it. It was like I did what I said I was going to do. I wrote the book. Let me move on.
Right.
But this year, I have really been more focused on making sure people are aware and they know about my book, A Joint Effort: Life After Hip Implant Recall, because so many people can, whether they had hip replacements, whether they have come out of a domestic violence situation, whatever trauma that they have experienced in their life, be it financial or not, they can relate at some point in that book. And the reason why I say that is because you can turn your life around. So many people just give up or struggle with depression, and don't know how to move forward.
Right.
And they're stuck. And so I was hit on so many different angles, Brazy.
Right.
And I wanted to put that in the book to show, because I experienced, deaths along the way. It was really traumatic. But I want individuals to see that you can turn your life around. You don't have to stay in that mental situation or period where you can't function, you can't do anything.
Right.
And it means getting involved, staying busy. Now, it's not going to happen overnight, but that mindset has to be, I can and I will come out of this negative situation.
Right.
And once that is planted in your mind, I can, I will, I am coming out of this negative situation. Over time, it happens. And I wanted to share that.
Right. Well, I'm glad you shared that, and I do believe I have already have the links to how to get your book in
Yeah.
the description of the video, and at the end we'll go over that again. So people will know how to reach you and everything like that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Amazon.com, Andrea D. Jenkins. And the title is A Joint Effort: Life After Hip Implant Recall.
Yes.
Whew, I got chills just saying that.
Yes. And I hope it reaches somebody and it's able to touch somebody's lives like I know it's already done.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Right. So now tell me about this. Now I hear you're an entrepreneur. Did you have a jewelry line?
Oh, yes. And
Tell me about the jewelry line.
let me tell you. So my jewelry line is Jewelry by AD. So during, my health struggles, I just got to do something.
Yes.
What is something that's going to fuel me, mentally, emotionally, because that depression can sink in. I had an aunt at the time, she's passed away, but she came to Georgia. She lived in Texas, and she came to Georgia, and she was always making earrings. So she came and she said, well, Andrea, let me show you how, to make these earrings. I didn't really have a passion for that.
Right.
The only passion that I had was going to jewelry stores and buying jewelry because I love jewelry.
Right.
So anyway, I just watched her, and I'm the type of person, they say, you give me an inch, I take a mile.
Yes.
You show me something, and then I want to really dig into it a little bit more and see what else I can do with it.
Right.
But she showed me how to make a pair of earrings, and I'm like, okay, I can do that. So then I started studying, getting on YouTube and buying books and reading on how to do this and how to do that. And before you know it, I'm making a whole bunch of earrings. And then I said, well, now let me try to make some necklaces here. So then I make some necklaces, and let me see how to hook this. And before you knew it, I said, you know what? If I don't say it's a business, no one's going to believe it's a business.
Right.
If I don't promote and advertise myself, then how would anybody know?
Right.
So then I started making jewelry. I started wearing the jewelry, and then I started putting it out there. Hey, I make custom jewelry. I will design jewelry. And then before I realized it, I had people calling me because I started sharing, the pieces that I was making. And I had this one client or customer. He loved bow ties, but he loved bracelets. And he said, listen, I need a bracelet to match all my ties. I think I put like 15 to 20 pieces together, just, designed for him. He sent me pictures. His wife sent me pictures of his ties, and I put, pieces together just to see what he would like. And he bought 14 of them. So then I would have women, send me a picture of their dress. I had family members, I would have their garments, and I would hang it up, and I just have to watch it and look at it, for a few days and start visualizing, what do I want to match this dress? And then I have to make a few pieces. and then show it, and
Right.
then I would sell it.
Well, that sounds like a plan. Now, so with the jury, and again, so you're still currently doing this?
I still make the jewelry, not
Okay.
as much as I used to,
Hmm.
but I will. I usually
Okay.
make jewelry by, phone calls, or, just orders, someone just, refer me, say, hey, I really need this. Will you? So I don't spend a whole lot of time like I
Right.
used to,
Hmm.
but making jewelry is also therapeutic for me.
Right. Okay.
So when I get into my blah days, or I'm feeling woe is me, or I'm having a depressed moment, because I do have those moments. Listen, I struggle with abuse and health traumatic issues. Mentally, it affects you. And sometimes, I need to do something
Right.
outside of just my financial business. I need a hobby. I need to do something. And so I'll make jewelry. I'll sit there and I'll just start putting pieces together. And then I'll just give jewelry to my mom, or give jewelry to my sisters. So it's more of a hobby for me now, unless I get a request.
Right.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, what other businesses have you done? So you
So
have
I
the tax place, you have the jury.
so I started the skincare business. So
Okay.
how that happened is, during my sickness,
Hmm.
there was a hospital bed here in my parents' house.
Hmm.
So I couldn't stay, on my own.
Right.
And so I just started, looking up essential oils, and, I would be in and out of bed, in and out of pain. And I wanted to do something else. And I love, smells. I love, nice fragrance, and body moisturizers,
Right.
and our skin needs to be, nurtured, and it
Hmm.
needs to be hydrated. And so I just started doing some research on, essential oils. But why I did the research is because eczema runs in my family.
Okay.
So I have my sister, I have a nephew, my great niece.
Hmm.
um, and so I wanted to know, what could I do to help them.
Right.
And my nephew, my oldest nephew, his skin was so bad he would scratch, and just watch it. He's 30 now.
Okay.
Watching him throughout high school, and seeing how he would scratch and his skin would bleed, that just really broke my heart.
Right.
And so I wanted to know what essential oils, what products would really work good for, for someone
Hmm.
with eczema. So I
Right.
just started making products, and blending different essential oils, blending different oils, and trying different things. And then I was having my family try it. And then I
Right.
saw the difference that it was making, with
Okay.
them. And I knew I was doing something when my sister and my nephew would say, Auntie, I need some more of that moisturizer.
Right.
Sister would say, hey, I need to get more of that moisturizer. So I'm like, okay, we're doing something here.
Right.
So for a while, I didn't turn it into a business. I'm just making stuff, just making some
Hmm.
products and giving it away to my friends and family. Try this, try that. I want y'all to try.
Right.
But then it got to be a little bit costly.
Yes.
Now they're coming back. I was like, hey, I need some more of that. I need more.
Right.
So I told my sister one day, I said, I think it might be a good idea to turn this into a business.
Right.
And my siblings said, well, we were wondering when you were going to get to that.
Hmm.
We've already said it.
Right.
So my sister's name is Keisha. Her name is LaKeisha, my sister right up under me. And the baby
Uh-huh.
girl is Brandy.
Hmm.
I'm Andrea. And so the business is Anki Brand. On for Andrea,
Hmm.
Key for Keisha, and Brand for Brandy.
Oh, wow.
And so I would make the products,
Hmm.
they would come in and help. I was not allowed to put the labels on. So we did the labeling, the packaging, the shipping, we did all of that.
Wow.
But they would pop my hand if I did the labels, because they said I didn't do it right. It would be crooked. So I had to stay in my lane. My sister Keisha said, stay in your lane.
Right.
So we did the Bronner Brothers hair show.
Okay.
And we also did the Talia Wajid Real Natural Hair Show. So that was fun. And we did
Right.
several other events as well, providing, the eczema cream and the moisturizer. Our
Hmm.
products were in a local store.
Okay.
And then over time, I decided that it made more sense to pull the products out the store and then just take online orders. And that worked
Okay.
well for us.
Yes.
Um, And then it just got to the point I wasn't able to keep up with it.
The
And
demand.
yes, and not
Yeah.
just that, but I was involved with my financial services, as
Okay.
well.
Yes.
I started studying with that, and then my appointments and meeting clients and doing,
Right.
functions around supporting the financial, side.
Mm-hmm.
I got extremely busy on the financial
Right.
side. And
Okay.
so I had orders coming in on the skincare side that I had to refund people money back because I just didn't have the time to get to it.
Right.
So just time management,
Right.
but I enjoyed it.
Yes.
Mhm.
So y'all completely stopped the
Um
products, or is it more of a
we
just
haven't had
like
any
most
orders
people?
in a while. It has to
Okay.
be I have got to have this product, Andrea.
Yes.
And then I will, go ahead and block out, that time to,
Right.
make sure that I make the product that is needed.
Okay.
Do I plan to really get more involved at some point? Yes, I will, start
Mhm.
back. And what triggered me to say that is because I haven't been the one in my family to suffer with eczema, but I
Right.
would make it because I wanted the creams because I wanted to take care of my family who do suffer with eczema.
Right.
Well, a couple of years ago, I had to go see a dermatologist because
Okay.
my skin was bothering me all of a sudden. Like, what in the world? Come to
Yes.
find out, I have eczema.
Oh wow.
And the dermatologist said, well, Miss Jenkins, what I highly recommend is that you start using your own product. That told me right there, okay, girl, if you don't get busy.
Right. Oh man.
So, I just have to plan it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a planning process.
Oh wow. So what's next for Andrea? What do
Well,
you have going on now?
Andrea is currently studying for her securities license.
Okay.
So that's been keeping me pretty busy.
Mm-hmm.
So taking quizzes and classes and exams and just really studying.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I am because I want to be able to do more for my clients.
Right.
So, I have a full financial team around me. So even things that I'm not licensed to do yet,
Mm-hmm.
I have a team that takes care of my people.
Okay.
So I am studying for my securities. So I am looking forward to passing that exam.
Right.
Um, I love working with my clients. So
Right.
what's in the future is just continuing to build my business,
Mm-hmm.
doing more speaking engagements,
Okay.
being involved on more platforms such as yours,
Right.
very therapeutic as well,
Yes.
to meet people and share across the board
Mm-hmm.
information that needs to be shared with
Right.
people who I may not meet
Right.
unless I was on, a podcast that
Mm-hmm.
can reach a greater range of people.
Right.
So right
Wow.
now, that's where I am,
Well, good deal.
and
So can
spending
you
more time with my family.
right. That's always important.
Yes,
Always
yes,
important.
I love my family.
All right. So I wanna get you to tell the people how they can reach you if it via social media or email. Um, you're still doing the financial thing currently, right?
That's
So
my
whether it be
passion. That's primary.
all right, so whether it be about your book or the financial side of things, or I know, like you said, maybe every blue moon you'll do the jury if somebody may want to do that. How do the people reach you?
Well, I can be found. My Facebook page is Andrea D. Jenkins.
Hmm.
My Instagram page is Andrea underscore Jenkins 94. My the book can be found on Amazon.com
Hmm.
under again a joint effort life after hip implant recall.
Hmm.
You can find the book there. And my financial site is howmoneyworks.com /Andrea Jenkins.
All right. So this is how I always like to end this. I'm going to give you the big screen on your own. If there's somebody out there that may need any kind of help, a word of advice, within your scope, and it's a wide range of scopes, like I said, via financially, if they're going through something abusive, um, I want to just give you the platform and give you about a minute to just give somebody or someone a word of advice. What would you tell them if they're going through something tonight?
Okay. The main thing that I do want to share is plant in your mind to never give up. If it is something that you have a desire or a passion for, then you fight for that achievement and never give up. Something my dad has always shared with me is that I never taught you how to lose. So continue to win. You are winning when you plant in your mind that you're going to make a change. You want to make a change. You say to yourself, I am making that change to improve for my life. You can do that. Turn your life around. We have choices. Choose the right choice for you. Turn your life around, and you're not alone. This life is truly about a joint effort. Pull together, and you can succeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, Andrea D. Jenkins, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Brazy, thank you so much for having me. It was truly a pleasure. I had so much fun being here today.
I did. You have an amazing story.
Thank
Amazing
you.
story. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
guys. Thank you so much for joining. I will talk to you here shortly. So just give me one moment. All right, guys. Thank you for another episode tonight of B2Deep. Join me next time. I will let you guys know via YouTube or Facebook who will be on the show next. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button. I will get to you guys later. Thank you, Gina. Great show she just put in the comments. I will get with you guys next time. Have a good night. Bless.